Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Sachin Karnik here. Welcome to week number 31 of the online personal transformation program via Angel Wing. This is the 5th of August, 2025. I want to welcome you all today. Please do keep in mind that we have started the sequence on energy transmutation. The stages are as follows: energy activation and utilization, energy equalization, energy conservation, revitalization, and transmutation. Okay, now having said that, there are some basic points that I do want to go over with you, and I have another document here for that. So bear with me just a moment here. I'm going to go through some of the basics here just to make sure we're all on the same page. Then we'll get into some more intricate ideas here. So first of all, energy transmutation is the 5th and most advanced stage of the energy mastery model. While the earlier stages, activation, equalization, conservation, and revitalization, establish the groundwork for awareness, balance, protection, and renewal of personal energy, transmutation is the stage in which energy is consciously refined, consciously elevated, and consciously repatterned into higher expressions of consciousness. So it is deliberately taken to a new level. That's the basic idea. So it is this transformation of raw or reactive energy into creative, purposeful, and spiritually resonant output. Right? So I hope that paragraph is clear, that this is a conscious effort hour by hour. I mean, it literally goes hour by hour, half an hour at a time, or even 10 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time, with keeping a broad vision in mind about consciously refining the conserved and revitalized and equalized energy into a new expression. Now, we're going to have a big question here. What is that new expression? That is something we have to decide. There's many possibilities. Maybe it's more intellectual development. Maybe it's more artistic development. Maybe it's more career-related development. It could be wherever you feel that there is more development that you can have in any domain of life. That is up to each individual. It's going to be different for every single person. But the refinement is not different. So refinement, elevation, and repatterning are the 3 points here. You can see them right here. And these are keys. If you're taking notes, please do write these down. This is of paramount significance, simply because refinement refers to removing all of the impurities. Like refined sugar, like cane sugar. That's the final product. All the other stalk and everything else that doesn't belong is all taken away. Only that pure substance remains. And that is called refinement. So we are consciously refining all the mixed material. We're refining energy and taking out everything that doesn't belong inside that energy dynamics into the energy structure itself. So that is called refinement. It actually is a matter of increasing the quality of energy flow in the TEMDE. Now please remember, I'm just going to talk about this a bit. Please remember the 5, 6, and 5. I really hope everybody has this memorized. Thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. Thought meaning cognition, right? So thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. TMDE, that's 5. Each one of those has 6 aspects. It's quality, quantity, direction, dimension, depth, and structure. QQDDDS. That's the abbreviation for that. QQDDDS. Quality, quantity, direction, dimension, depth, and structure. And then the 5, 6, and 5. What's the other 5? Energy activation, energy equalization, energy conservation, energy revitalization, energy transmutation. Right, so this is the 5, 6, and 5. Now, they are always hanging together. These are all interlinked, intermixed together. But we need to understand them sequentially and at the same time try to really apply each concept in the best possible way. Right now we're talking about refinement. Refinement is a type of transmutation. Right? There's no question about that. Refinement, of course, of energy, but it's refinement of the TEMDE. So it's refinement of all 5. Now, what would that mean? I mean, do we think throughout the day? Yes, definitely. But if you ask ourselves, what is refinement of cognition? Cognition meaning thinking process. We think of all different kinds. Well, then connect that with the quality quantity direction. The QQ, DDD, and S. So quantity, quality. This is refinement. So refinement refers to the quality. That the quality of our thinking is going to change, is going to be refined into better quality thinking. That's transmutation. So transmutation of energy is at the very root, because thoughts cannot function without energy. That's why we talked about energy transmutation. We have that as a fifth stage. But that implies refinement or transmutation of cognition. It implies transmutation of emotion, transmutation of memory, transmutation of desire, and energy transmutation itself. So I want to explain this point here. Right, so let's be very clear. It should be absolutely clear. So there's no confusion. It should be cognitively clear what we're talking about. And then we'll try to apply this. Our thinking process is carrying energy. It goes in many directions. There's quantity of thought and there's quality of thought. And of course, there's direction of thought, right? So quantity is the amount of thinking we do. Many of us know that we think too much. Isn't that so? I mean, we know this, right? We said, I've thought too much about this. I'm using too much of my mind to this. I'm too much getting involved in my head. I'm too much in my head. I mean, we say this all the time. There's nothing new in that. But it's a matter of awareness to say, oh, this is happening to me. And if we have gone through the previous stages of equalization and refinement and all, this activation, equalization, conservation, etc., those previous stages, we've done those exercises, we are in a better position to detect over cognitive activity, too much cognitive activity. It happens all the time in life. It happens throughout the day. We start probing some memory, or we start thinking about someone or some situation, and we spend an inordinate amount of time in that, time and energy. So when we realize that I am spending too much time in this, immediately take some steady breaths, sit very silently, and pull energy out of cognition. How do we pull that energy out? By taking a steady breath in. Simple technique is taking a steady breath in, holding for a couple of seconds, releasing slowly, holding again. Just simple breathing in and out, slow breathing in and out will pull the energy out of cognition with the realization that I'm thinking too much about this. I've thought about it, I've looked at it. What is the point of going into this again? So now when I am no longer dumping energy into that anymore, it's conserved naturally, and now it can be refined. So refined in what way? I can still think, but the quality of my thinking is going to be better than what I was doing 5 minutes back. You see how advanced these are? Big ideas, folks. If we want to reach self-mastery, we really, all of us together, first me, then everybody else. This applies to me first. That to really apply this, that I want to refine my thinking, write that down as a statement for this week, as an exercise for this week. I want my thinking to be refined. Our program is practical. It's application based. Well, first we need to understand what is refinement. Refinement means taking it to a much more better level, purer level. I would say purer. Purity of thought, clarity of thought, synchronicity of thought, harmony of thought. I'm just talking about only thought right now. Of course, it's not independent of the others. The TEMDE, they are all together, but we need to talk about them one by one. But they all happen together. There's always some emotion associated with any thought. Even right now, Sachin is speaking to you. You are listening. there's always some emotion. I'm feeling pretty good inside. I feel like this is really nice and what a beautiful opportunity, whatever it is, my emotional space right now is of a very good, healthy quality right now. But I'm not deliberately thinking about that. It's just happening naturally because my thoughts are of a better quality. My thoughts are of a higher quality, more refined quality. My mind is active in presenting these ideas. So the emotion that's connected with what's happening right now is a very good quality emotion, rather than my trying to do that deliberately, trying to make the emotion deliberately a better quality. And that's the beauty of this. Once we decide to refine our activity into a higher modality, into a better quality of thinking, and that's going to vary for each person, the emotion is going to follow along very nicely. We don't have to worry about that. That's what cognitive behavioral therapists do. They work on cognitions. We can do it ourselves, right? We can work on our own cognitions. Why not? If we have a therapist or guide or whatever, that's fine, beautiful. Absolutely fine. Very good. But the point is that refinement of cognition. This is our exercise this week. One of the exercises. We're going to have a whole series of them. To write this down in your notebook, A or B, 1 or 2, or on the 3x5 card, and say, I want my thinking to be of better quality. I don't want, they use that word stinking thinking, right? In addictions, you may have heard that before, like contaminated thinking. No. This is a big idea, folks. That's why people go to churches and they go to temples and they read scriptures and things like that, because of the quality of our thoughts is uplifted in a much better way rather than just polluting the mind. So again, a distinction between polluted thinking versus pure thinking. And this is not dichotomous, it is a continuum. And again, it depends how we define that. There's no one, there's probably hundreds of ways to think about this. But I think we can go on experience. If I was to look at myself, what is my criteria for polluted thinking versus really good quality thoughts, versus purified thoughts? What's the difference between these two? I have to ask myself. Now, with all humility, I'll just share my thoughts, Sachin's thoughts on what, my own reflections on this, but you'll have to look at this yourself, because it's all happening inside of all of us. These are just some general ideas, and there will be more supplementary materials for guidance. So I'll share with you some of my thoughts on this, but I would love to hear from you in our Q&A session on this one. The polluted thinking has a direct barometer. The direct barometer is uneasiness. That's a direct barometer. If my thinking gets polluted, it gets distorted, the quality turns sour, like sour milk. Isn't there a difference between sour milk and fresh milk? Yeah, like that. Isn't there a difference between a very fresh apple, crisp apple, and a rotten apple? Isn't there a difference between the two? Yes. Isn't there a difference between a very healthy and balanced body and a very sick body? Yes. In the same way, there is a massive difference between a very healthy cognitive apparatus, the mind-brain-body complex in terms of cognition, and I'm only talking about cognition right now, but all are implied, but we just do one at a time. There's a difference between a very healthy cognitive apparatus or cognitive function, and then on a continuum into a very dysfunctional, harmful, polluted mind, polluted cognition, polluted thinking. And this goes back to the quality of cognition. Quality, quantity, direction, dimension, depth, and structure. QQ, DDDS. That's the abbreviation. So it's very, very relevant in our day-to-day life. See, many times we're not aware that, my God, what is the quality of my thinking? How many people in the human condition today, maybe just a few of us who are online, How many people get up and say, I'm going to monitor the quality of my thoughts today? We don't do that. We don't even are not aware of doing that. Or I want to make my thoughts pure. We don't think about it this way. But we can. We can do that starting today, starting tomorrow. Do it immediately. Don't delay. Now, this is called refinement. This is the refinement process. So the energy inside cognition gets refined and it filters throughout the whole body, throughout the entirety of the mind, and it then has excellent function in connection with the outside world. This is called refinement. This is energy refinement. Now, there's a couple of other points here, many other points. There's the elevation of energy, elevation of our cognition. There's refinement, elevation, and repatterning. There's 3 points here that I want to cover today, and maybe that's all we'll have time for. What is the elevated mind? What is that? What is a degraded mind? Again, this is a difference now. A mind that is degrading versus a mind that is elevating. Thoughts that are elevating us further, that are uplifting our life further. Again, one has to see, what does that mean for me? I may have certain desires, certain wants, certain wishes that I try to fulfill them. They're going to degrade my life. I may want that experience, like for example, just take a simple example of smoking cigarettes. If somebody starts smoking multiple cigarettes, is that elevation or degradation? It's very simple. We all know it's degradation. The person smoking knows it's degradation. But they get an experience from that degradation. They get an experience from the smoke. Some temporary high, some experience. But it doesn't solve anything, and it just damages the body, damages the lungs. It's degradation. So at every turn, hour by hour, day by day, again, simple question. Am I elevating my life or am I degrading my life? Or kind of holding in the middle somewhere? 3 possibilities. So I can make a decision consciously, and that's what I need to do. I need to do it an hour at a time. I mean, I know I keep saying that, but you'll be surprised how powerful that is, because we don't do it. We don't actually do this. I've been talking about it for the last 2 years in some form or other, and even I forget to do it at times, but I try to remember, no, I have to stay in the present. What's the next hour look like for me? And you see the mind going in hundreds of directions. Who knows where it's going? Decide, is it going to elevate? Where is my elevation? Which is also satisfying. It's not like elevation where you're just forcing yourself to do something. No, not that kind of elevation. It is elevation that is uplifting one in a transmuted way. That is transmutation. So the 3 components that we're looking at, and I will do the screen share here again for you, so you can see it beautifully. It is actually, that's not the right one. That's another. Hold on a second. I got a whole bunch of stuff open here. I guess it's, where did that go? Well, even that's not it. Hold on a second. Give me just a moment, folks. I've got to find the right file here. Okay, I got it here now. Give me just a moment, please. Okay, I think, here it is. So you can see it here, right? That energy transmutation is the 5th and most advanced stage, where energy is consciously refined, consciously elevated, consciously, not like, okay, I'll do it half-heartedly, not like that. It's a big if Sachin wants to reach self-mastery, I have to do this. There's no ifs and buts about it. I have to refine my cognition. We say energy refine, meaning right now we're talking about energy inside cognition, then energy inside emotion. We'll talk about those in subsequent weeks, right? Because of the time factor. But refinement, elevation, and repatterning. Now, what is repatterning? I've got to set a new pattern. Yes, but now how can I set a new pattern until I can decide on a pattern that is going to be a higher expression of psychological consciousness? A higher expression of the quality of my life. I have to repattern that. Let's say, for example, you've got a physician, who starts a private practice, and they have to pattern their schedule in a new way than what they were doing before. Isn't it so? So to see a certain number of patients, to do the best for them, to manage schedule, it's a matter of setting patterns. We cannot live successfully in life or happily in life until we set really good quality patterns that are actually repatterned, meaning it's repatterning. Old patterns are changed into new patterns, and those new patterns are actually taking us towards elevated consciousness. That is transformation. So repatterning is transformation. And that is a matter of decision. Decision, first of all, what is my current pattern? Can I change my current pattern? I'm waking up at a certain time. I'm doing different things throughout the day. I'm doing some meditations. I'm doing this, whatever I'm doing. How can I make my patterns better? What is the benefit of setting a pattern? Because it provides regularity, it promotes discipline, it builds discipline, and it conserves energy. And by following a fixed, good quality pattern for everything, for food, for exercising, for contemplation, for meditation, for relationships, everything. Once we set up patterns, that is going to benefit us. Because it is going to transmute energy by funneling it. It's a type of concentration, but not in some reactive way. It's a good quality funneling that has a good purpose for transmutation. I mean, just take all of us coming here every Tuesday. Most of us who are online come every Tuesday. What are we doing by coming every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. and then staying until maybe 9:15, 9:30? Why? Why do we do it? Because it is causing a repatterning of our time. That during this time, these are the ideas we're going to listen to, contemplate together, and try to apply them this week. And the more we know this, all of you coming online have at least tried some of this. Even to listen to these ideas is beneficial for me and for you. That's why all of you come. That's why Sachin is doing this. If it wasn't beneficial, we would say, well, this is useless. Why bother with it? No, it's not useless. Right? So it is helping us. We are setting up a pattern. We've been at this now for a year and a half. More than a year and a half now. And we're going to continue. So it is a pattern, but it's a good quality pattern. So good quality patterns make significant difference in reaching short-term goals, long-term goals, and making the quality of the hour-to-hour experience quite a bit better. This is called repatterning. Right, so there's 3 points here. There is the redefining, redefining also, but the refinement of cognition. The energy within cognition is going to be refined this week. What does that mean? In a nutshell, make our thinking better. Are we thinking about negative things about people? Are we taking people's faults? Are we just bringing in negative stuff that we're watching on TV or whatever is going on in the world? Is that what our mind is getting filled with? Yeah, we need to be aware of what's happening, but how much of that negativity are we just inputting into the mind and then reacting against that and polluting it? Is it a pollution? We have to ask ourselves through the 5 senses, the inputs that are coming through the 5 senses, are they elevating my life, or are they degrading the quality of my inner space? And these are basic questions. Now, refinement, elevation, and repatterning into higher expressions of consciousness. So it is transformation of raw or reactive energy into creative, purposeful, and spiritually resonant output. How beautiful is that? That's where joy exists. Creativity is fantastic. It doesn't mean you're busy all the time, but there's a lot of ways of being creative and a lot of ways of learning new material and engaged in nice, good quality actions rather than getting bogged down with old harmful loops. So it is transformation. Transformation is not change. Transformation is a true fundamental inside out transmutation. It's not simply change that just reverts back to where it was. It's not like that. So reactive energy is gone. There's no more reactive energy. Energy doesn't react anymore. It's changed into purpose, into resonance, spiritual resonance. So unlike conservation and revitalization, the previous two stages, transmutation changes the quality and direction of energy. Yes, obviously. The quality of the flow is going to be much better. Because the process is internal and it is intentional. Is it internal? Well, why is it internal? Why isn't it external? Because the energy, our core energy, is internal. That's why. And the transmutation is from the inside out. And it's going to take time. And it cannot happen without intention, or it will happen when the intention is there for it to happen. So rather than being carried away by emotional, mental, or instinctual forces, the practitioner holds space for the energy to be felt, understood, and then rewoven into something constructive and wise. You see this line carefully. Absolutely beautiful. I'll put that in a different color here for you. You see? So we're all practitioners of this. It's all matter of practice. It's easy to get carried away with certain emotions and instincts and all that. Hold on. Don't get carried away. Hold space for energy to be felt. Meaning what? Don't react right away. Don't just act upon certain emotions or instinctual forces or mental activity. Hold some space. Keep some gap. So practitioners hold space for the energy to be felt. So whatever is happening emotionally, mentally, feel it. Oh, this is a certain feeling. Let that energy be felt, understood. Try to understand how that energy is flowing inside by observing it. And then here's the actual action step. And that is to reintegrate it, to reweave. It's like to weave together, rewoven. That energy is rewoven into something else, into a new direction, into something much more constructive and filled with wisdom. When we do this is transformation. When Sachin engages in reweaving, I love that weaving metaphor. That's what the word tantra means, just to weave together. It has some negative connotation. That's not really what it means. It means to weave together broken pieces. So this is our life. We have to weave it together. It's like when we weave together pieces of yarn or long strings of yarn, we make a beautiful blanket out of it or whatever we want to make out of it. It's woven into something else rather than just the yarn sitting there, right? Similarly, our consciousness, our psychological consciousness is deeply affected by the process of reweaving. It's by reintegrating all the broken pieces into something extraordinary, constructive. Whatever that might be in the 12 dimensions. It could be family time, job development, spiritual development, religious study. It could be meditation. It could be whatever. We are alive, so we're going to be doing something. So we have a choice, right? Do we use our time, energy, effort for constructive development in life towards much higher ideals with wisdom, or do we just stray in old patterns? So these are the kinds of choices that are very, very relevant to keep in mind. So this stage requires self-mastery. Now, again, I would refine that sentence a bit to say that this stage leads to self-mastery. Yes, conscious intention, a level of inner stillness can be received and to hold powerful energetic charges without reactive expression. There are a lot of examples here. Like I say, anger can be transmuted into assertive clarity and moral courage. Yes, you can be more courageous on the morality side, some injustice is going on, things like that. Fear can be transmuted into heightened awareness and intelligent caution. Right? Grief can be transmuted into compassion and spiritual depth. Desire can be transmuted into devotion or visionary creativity. Yes, these are all transmutations. So at its core, transmutation involves transforming what arises within all of us into what serves us and others at the highest level. It is the art of spiritual and psychological alchemy, applied moment to moment. We want to get to this point in this series. So this is the absolutely beautiful point here. Now, let's take a look at this here. How it differs from energy conservation revitalization. Just to be clear, energy conservation is like putting your energy in a vault, guarding it from waste, leaks, or unnecessary loss. It involves boundary setting, rest, and choosing where not to spend your energy. That is energy conservation. Energy revitalization is about recharging, using breath work, movement, sleep, creative expression, or nature to refill your tank with fresh energy. That is revitalization. But transmutation goes a step further. It doesn't protect or replenish energy. It transforms its very essence. And that's the big difference between revitalization, conservation, and transmutation. For example, fear can be transmuted into alert awareness. We can be very alert and aware, absolutely, but not be in a state of fear. Anger can be transmuted into courageous advocacy. Some injustices are going on. All right, do some work for some nonprofits. Do some advocacy work. Do something. People like to complain about the world's problems. Do something about them. That's why we have Angel Wing, right? In Sachin's mind, in Dr. Chetna, we decided the world is filled with all kinds of difficulties. We want to do something about this. So we developed this program. In our way. There's 1,000 other ways to help the world also. Right? So that's important. The sexual process. Sexual energy can be transmuted into devotion and creative flow. There's in many religious traditions, there's a lot of emphasis on celibacy and all that. I don't want to talk too much about that right now. That would be a special subject in some other program at some other time. All right, we'll leave that alone for the time being. So this is not just about managing emotion. It's about repatterning the force behind it into a higher, more aligned form. Managing emotion, managing thoughts, managing the onslaught of memories, all of that together. Repattern it. Repattern the force behind our cognition, behind our emotion. That's something quite extraordinary, folks. Let me talk a little bit about that. Repatterning the force. Wow, that's something amazing. When Sachin keeps attention on my internal power, energy, that is patterned in certain ways, and if it's not serving me towards my highest of ideals, goals, whatever, I can repattern the energy itself. How do I do that? It's a very interesting question. How does a person repattern energy? How is that even possible? Well, it's repatterned in alignment. It has to do with alignment. I see the goal that I want. What's the goal in my mind? For example, if I have a goal that I want to, I'm just going to use an example. If I want to study a particular religious scripture and really want to really know that part of the scripture very well, I have to spend time, energy, effort behind that on a regular basis. That's a religious example. It could be true with biology books or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But if I don't put in time, I will not develop. But I have to put in time consistently, same amount of time every day if possible. That's going to repattern me. So that repatterning allows for a great deal of transmutation of energy. Because the energy that is inside of me is going in just different places. So that is where transmutation actually begins to take hold. It takes hold beautifully in the repatterning of the force. And this is an internal and intentional process. It's not a reactive process. Okay, it's not reactive. Let's go back to the handout here. Transmutation doesn't happen by default. It is a conscious inner art. It requires all of us to do what? Several things. Feel the energy, not suppress it. We feel which way it's going, in which direction it's going. What I want to do with that. How beautiful. Witness its origin and potential. Where did it come from? These thoughts are coming here. The emotions are going there. Witness it, see it, observe it. And see the potential where it can go. And intend to direct it into something constructive. It's a very beautiful 3 steps. This means you don't collapse and overwhelm yourself. We don't collapse and overwhelm ourselves. We don't react automatically, yell, withdraw, indulge. We just, people just react very quickly, automatic thoughts. No. We stay present long enough to choose what the energy becomes. And that's the whole point, right? That's transmutation. Is becoming something else than what it was before. What can it become? It will become something much more refined, something much more beautiful, something much more fulfilling than where I am right now. So here's an analogy. Think of transmutation like holding molten metal. Holding molten metal. You don't throw it or let it burn you. You shape it into something beautiful while it's still hot. This is a fantastic analogy. Very easy to understand. If you're going to hold molten metal, you don't hold it with your hands. You have to hold it with a ladle or some, stick, whatever it is, some instrument. So but you also don't throw it away. It's molten, right? It's fire, and it's ready for change. That is the whole point of transformation. We are ready to transform. So you don't let it burn, because there's a lot of energy that's been activated, that's available. You have to shape it. You and I, all of us together, we have to shape it into something beautiful, because if we don't shape it, it will not transform. It will just become a blob. It will just go back to what it was, or it will become dispersed somewhere. No. We can shape it into something beautiful. We can shape our thoughts into beautiful thoughts. Shape our emotions into beautiful emotions. Shape our memories into beautiful memories. Meaning what? We can try to remember them in a completely new light. We'll talk more about that later on. And shape our desires into beauty also. We'll talk about that later on. It is shaping the molten metal. It is shaping the high energy that is inside my mind, shaping the cognition into what I want it to be, which is the quality of my thinking. Now, again, here's some other examples. Holding space for energy. Holding space means remaining internally still, even when energy is intense. Now, that is something amazing. We feel intense energy in so many places, right? Rage, lust, greed, panic, whatever. All kinds of intense emotions are there. There's a lot of energy there. Remain still. Well, how is that going to happen? How do we actually remain still while that intensity is there? By doing all those previous steps. Last year and this year so far, everything we've talked about this year, last year, that is necessary to be able to get to this point of remaining internally still. Nobody's going to be able to do that right away. It's like a foreign idea. It's like, how is that even possible? When we have anger or greed or lust or panic, to remain still in that? How am I supposed to do that? Is that even possible? Yes, it is. But you got to do all the previous exercises to get oneself ready to take this step. And in that stillness, we are aware. To exist fully in your awareness without immediately discharging these emotions. What does it mean to discharge these emotions? Discharge means when I feel grief, so I just start rolling with that. If we start feeling it, stay with it a bit, let it reconnect in a new way. That requires stillness. So this requires how to do that. Breath control, cognitive distancing, and inner spaciousness. To regulate the nervous system. So cognitive breath control, steady breaths in, steady breath out. Steady breath in is very simple. Keep palms open on your thighs. You don't need to do any other breathing technique. You can do others if you want. Alternate nostril breathing. There's so many advanced techniques. Start with simple ones. That's breath control. That's going to help. It's going to help a lot when strong emotions that we don't want show up. Cognitive distancing, that this is energy, not identity. Recognize I've got a lot of energy in this direction, leave it alone. Don't just make that go in some particular direction, and completely get lost in that. No, we don't need to do that. That's called cognitive distancing. And inner spaciousness, allow psychological room to contain the wave. Remember, we've talked about this before. These emotions and all, these are waves, thoughts and emotions. These are waves that are coming and going. Allow enough room internally to contain the wave. So from a neurological perspective, this means slowing down the limbic activation, amygdala, long enough for the prefrontal cortex to take leadership. Slow it down. Slow down the limbic activation. Enough for the prefrontal cortex to take leadership. So the prefrontal cortex takes over. It becomes the leader. And then it allows us to really, make this happen. So holding space for energy and the inner practice of containment and conscious channeling. Right? That's what that is. Well, how do we do it? Again, to hold space means remain consciously present. First of all, just be present to what's there. Don't do anything to it. We have a tendency just to run with it, to react or to do something because of it. Don't take any actions. Be present first. It's emotions are there, mental stuff is there, energetic experiences are there. Don't judge them. Without judging it, without fleeing from it, or without reacting to it. This is not easy. We'll talk more about it later, but this is what we want to do. It's called holding space. This is the inner act of non-reactive containment, where you don't try to escape, suppress, or indulge an intense feeling. Instead, you witness it with stability and compassion, allowing it to move through you while you maintain your centered awareness. So you become both the container and the contents. The container is your steady awareness, and the contents, the energetic wave moving through you. All right, so now we'll stop this here for now. It's already 8:47. I just want to mention the quantum quality for today very quickly. Let's go back to these slides here. It's the quantum quality number 31. It's a very easy quality to understand and something that we all need to be very aware of. Find out in our lives or in our kids' lives or in our relatives' lives or whoever, people that are close to us, find out the danger zones and stay out of them right from childhood. Illegal acts, severe conflicts, family conflicts, addictions. Stay out of this thing right from the beginning. To try to solve these problems is extraordinarily difficult. Addiction problem is intensely difficult to solve. Somebody commits an illegal act and they wind up in prison or wind up in some legal system issue, it becomes a mess. We don't want that. Severe conflicts in the family can lead to violence. It can lead to police coming. You just don't want to get into all this stuff. So stay completely out of the danger zones. Starting right now. Don't delay. Then it doesn't matter how old anybody is or how young anybody is. It doesn't make any difference. This is true all the way around. Driving cars, meeting with family members. Don't do dangerous things. Be precautionary in this. Right? So this is a quantum principle. When we realize this, am I taking this step? Am I entering into a danger, potentially very serious danger zone? If the answer is yes, don't go into that. Find another way to deal with whatever you have to deal with. That's the quantum idea. That's quantum principle number 31. All right, there's a bunch of slides here that pretty much explains it. They're kind of self-explanatory. I don't want to go too much into that to repeat those things again. It's those danger zones create lots of problems. It's just common sense stuff actually. The key here is prevention. Stay out of it. If you have to get in, if you got into it, there's ways out of it, but it's not easy. Prevention is better than trying to solve the problem later on, right? Illegal acts and all this kind of crazy stuff that is out there. You don't want violence. You don't want trouble of any kind in the family. You don't want drug offenses, assault, theft. You don't want any of this stuff in life at all. Right? So keeping that in mind, it is our responsibility to stay away from that. particularly kids and adolescents. Parents, grandparents, have conversations with your kids, with other kids. Encourage them to stay out of this. If that is so crystal clear, it needs to be absolutely embedded in the minds of teenagers and youngsters. What these danger zones are, put a boundary of prevention around it, and they don't enter into that under any circumstances. The drugs, alcohol, illicit sex, gambling, other addictions of different kinds, illegal behaviors, all kinds of family issues and conflicts and violence and hatred and theft, and just this is not life. And once you get into that, there's a whole underground world that's present throughout the world. You don't want anything to do with any of the people in that world also, right? So stay away from all that thing as much as possible. Okay, and then in closing, we have the vitamin M concept. Please use money wisely as a vitamin M. Vitamin M doesn't mean just greed. It means to use money as a vitamin in the best possible way for higher development in one's life. Right? So that's that. Standing exercise, homework exercise for this week. I need to change the slide. Those three things: energy refinement, energy patterning, energy upliftment further, right? This is our goal: energy, cognition, memories, thoughts, everything. Uplifting the mind further. Simple way to remember is, are we going up in life or are we going down in life? That's it. Ask that simple question and take the steps in that way. Review the recording if you need to. Let's do the closing song, then we'll open it up for any Q&A.